Support for Veterans Corner Radio is made possible by M&M Printing and the Observer News of Ruskin, Florida.
Hello and welcome to Veterans Corner Radio Podcast, information for and about veterans. For this edition of the podcast, host Joe Mulberger sits down with retired Major Ryan Pusins of the United States Marine Corps. Having grown up in Florida, Ryan tried college, found it wasn't for him, and ended up enlisting in the Marines. Eventually, he transitioned from enlisted to an officer, ultimately becoming a helicopter pilot. These days, he's an entrepreneur and an advisor for other aspiring entrepreneurs. Here now is Joe Mulberger with Veterans Corner Radio on Veterans Corner Radio Podcasts.
Welcome to Veterans Corner Radio, a show dedicated to providing information to all those who have served our country's military and to their families. Now, here is your host, combat veteran and educator, retired United States Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Joe Mulberger.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Joe Mulberger. Welcome to today's show. This, you're dialed into, is Veterans Corner Radio. Today we have retired United States Marine Corps Major Ryan Pusins. Ryan, welcome to today's show. Tell us about when you were born and where you grew up.
Well, I was born in 1980, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. That's where I come from.
Very nice. And growing up, did you play any sports in particular while you were in school or pursue any academic interests?
Yes, I played football throughout my childhood. I was never like a huge sports guy. I surfed a lot in my childhood. I grew up in the East Coast of Florida, so beach was important to me, but I was not like a big sports guy and didn't really have any particular sort of group that I hung out with. I wasn't like necessarily a jock or a academic guy. I kind of, bounced around a lot, had a lot of different friend groups in different areas. Yeah, so just had a lot of different types of friends.
So when did you graduate high school?
1999.
Did you go right into the military right after high school?
Well, right after high school, I went to community college, and that lasted for about 6 weeks until I realized that wasn't for me. I didn't have the focus for that, and my roommate, he also didn't have the focus for it, and he said that he was going to join the National Guard, and thought that it would be a good idea for me to join it with him. So I went and talked to the National Guard, didn't really like what I was hearing from them. And so I kind of put it on the shelf. And then one night I'm driving home. It's probably 8:30 at night. I'm driving home back to the dorms, and I drive past the recruiters' offices. All the recruiters are lined up in this office park. And I see the Marine Corps light is on. So I just pull in there, and the Marine Corps recruiter from my high school was in there, and he remembered me. He was honestly had tried to recruit me because I guess I scored well on the ASVAB. I took the ASVAB to get out of a class that I didn't want to partake in, and so he and I had some back and forth when I was in high school, and he was like, "What are you doing here?" Sat down, had a conversation, had maybe 2 or 3 follow-up conversations. And yeah, I was ready to go probably within 2 weeks, and I was gone within 3 months.
Well, tell us what that initial experience was like. A lot of folks have seen the films, Full Metal Jacket and that type of thing. What was basic training like for you?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. Full Metal Jacket, and then there's this movie, this documentary, Ears Open, Eyeballs Click. I think that is 100% the portrayal of Marine Corps boot camp, at least what I went through. Yeah, it's pretty intense. 13 weeks, Yeah, it's a lot. There really is a lot. I got off the bus, or when I'm on a bus and they come on, they're yelling at you, tell you to get off the bus. I just remember saying to myself, "What the hell did I get myself into?" You know, it it's very overwhelming. There's I wouldn't say that there's nothing that you can't do there. It's just, are you willing to do it? And it's a lot of a mental fortitude. Later on in the Marine Corps, I went through officer candidate school, which is completely different. So the comparison between recruit training and officer candidate school is so much more physical and physical endurance, where recruit training is a lot more mental endurance. Can you just get through this 13 weeks?
Well, they say that you don't join the Marine Corps, you become a Marine. So there's that aspect of it. And every Marine is a gun first. You get out of basic training, and then it's off to your trade school or what? What's next?
As soon as you leave, I think what is interesting about the Marine Corps, which is different than most of the rest of the services, is they send you home immediately. The rest of the services, I think they send you directly to your school, and the Marine Corps sends you home. That's a recruitment process because they want society to see that change. I came from Florida with this was Ryan, kind of maybe I was a dirtbag, maybe I was a knucklehead.
I mean, come on, you've already admitted you were Mr. Surfer Dude returning home.
Exactly.
So what was Mr. Surfer Dude returning home like? And did you do what, the 2 weeks obligatory hang out with the
You get 10 days to come home, and you're not on a recruiter's duty, you're just on leave. And they send you home for 10 days, and it's mandatory that they send you home. The full point is for you to go and to show off what the change has been. And so you go home and, you go to church with your mom, or you go hang out with your friends, and you see the transformation, and your friends and your family and your local community gets a chance to see that transformation, which is a recruitment process for the Marine Corps. And then after that, they send you every Marine after that goes to the they go to MCT, which is the Marine Combat Training. If you're in a if you are in a non-infantry MOS, then you would go to Marine Combat Training, which I think is like 21 days. It was back then. I'm not sure. It might have expanded now. If you were in the infantry, which I was, then you go to the infantry training battalion, where you go to infantry school. So, which was, I think, 6 weeks at the time. And then I went to a 8-week course because I was in a different type of infantry. So I had a follow on course for a specialized infantry course.
what was that? What was the specialization?
I was so regular infantry 0311s are riflemen, and then you have machine gunners, mortarmen, assaultmen, different types of specialty infantry. I was an assaultman, so I carried rocket launchers and did field and improvised explosives. So I spent an additional 2.5, 3 weeks learning how to shoot rocket launchers and to do expedient explosives, making improvised grape shot charger, like Claymore charges, basically IEDs. We learned how to make those, and how to learn how to make breaching charges, things of that nature, and how to use rocket launchers. So I spent an additional 2.5, 3 weeks learning how to do that, and then you finally get to your unit.
So you got to learn how to do all the things that are every child's schoolboy's dream, and you turn into a fleet Marine. Where do they send you first as far as an assignment?
So I went to Hawaii, which a lot of people don't maybe not know about, but the Marines have a base in Hawaii. Back then, we had 3 infantry battalions in Hawaii. They've since shut some of them down, but I was in 2nd Battalion, 3rd Marines, and on the island of Oahu. So that's where I went.
Tough stuff. How long were you there?
Was there for 4 years. I did 3 deployments with them.
Now, deployments are different service to service. Is that you got on a ship with Navy folks and deployed around the Pacific, or you went to Afghanistan or Iraq, something like that?
So the deployments are for the Marine Corps, we deployment would be both, right? So for the first deployment, we went to Okinawa. It was called a UDP, Unit Deployment Program. So they send Marines to Okinawa, Japan, which is a small island south of the mainland Japan, the large island of Honshu. And they have Marines that are pre-positioned in Okinawa. It's sort of a contingency force that is pre-positioned in the Pacific in the event that initially was there post Korean War in order to provide a defense force to support the aftermath of the Korean War. But I think that they're there now just to support operations anywhere within the Pacific. So they rotate. I think there's typically 2 or 3 battalions of Marines that are on the island at any given time, if not more. So we will rotate in there for 7 months period of time, and it augments a whole division of Marines that is out there in the Pacific. So I went there and spent 7 months there, and then I came back to Hawaii for 14 months, and then went back for 7 months. At this time, 9/11 had happened, so the deployment cycles had changed, and all sorts of things are changing around the world. So I went back for my second deployment. We were obviously anticipating, thinking that we might not go back to Okinawa. Maybe we go to Afghanistan. Maybe we go to Iraq. We went back to Okinawa. I was coming up on my time to rotate to go PCS to move to a different station. So I extended. I didn't re-enlist. I extended because I wanted to stay with my battalion to deploy again because at that point I had a leadership position and I was leading Marines and I wanted to deploy with those Marines. So I extended in order to stay with them. Came back to Hawaii, was there for instead of 14 months, I was only there for 7 months. Of those 7 months, I was really only home for 2 because I was in the field training, doing small little deployments. Went to Australia, went to the main island of Hawaii for training. And then we were expected to go to Afghanistan, and we ended up at the last minute, get our orders changed, and we picked up the 31st MEU, the Marine Expeditionary Unit. So we boarded on the USS Essex and floated around the Southeast Asia for 5 months and port to port, trained with Koreans, trained with the Thai Marines, and went all over the place. So those were the 3 deployments that I went there.
You had mentioned you were in a leadership position. What is that? You promoted up to corporal then, or where were you?
So yeah, I was a corporal and I was the section leader for my assaultmen. They don't have squads at the section, so I was in charge of I think 14 Marines, 12 or 14 Marines at that time.
How much time did you spend as an enlisted guy in the Marine Corps?
After that, I went to I was accepted to the MESEP program, which is a
Explain that. What's MESA mean? And lots of alphabet soup stuff.
it stands for Marine Enlisted Commissioning Education Program. It's a program for transitioning from enlisted to the officer side. The Marine Corps essentially sends you to college and they allow you to join the ROTC program while you are still serving.
So what rank are you at the time that you get accepted to this program?
I was a corporal when I was accepted, and then but you're a sergeant when you go through the program. So I when I was in the fleet as a corporal, their stop loss was happening where they wouldn't allow people to get out of the military.
Because 9/11, right?
Was that
It's the whole 9/11 aftermath.
exactly? So because of that stop loss, you couldn't get promoted either, and because the ranks because my I had a low density MOS, So no matter how good of a Marine I was, the promotion was 99.99. Like you're just, there was no room to promote. So I was a corporal for like 2.5 years because it just wasn't happening. So as soon as you join the MESEP program, your promotions become non-competitive, or you're no longer competing. If you have the time, then you are allowed to promote. So as soon as I joined the MESEP program, I promoted to sergeant the next day. So I was a part of that and went to University of South Florida, came to Florida and went to school here. And yeah, so to answer your first question, how long was I an enlisted Marine? A total of 9.5 years. My time in training, my time in Hawaii doing those deployments, and then here in Tampa going to the University of South Florida, going to college.
So you go through, what degree did USF let you out with?
I got a degree in elementary education. I really didn't know what I wanted to do. Probably one of the dumbest things that I ever said was I told my major when I got here. I guess he was a captain at the time. I said, "I'm here for a commission, not an education." It's just such a arrogant, stupid thing to say. But I really just wanted to get a commission and get back to the infantry and get back to my Marines. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. My mom was a teacher. I come from a family of teachers. It seemed like it was an easy thing. And I met a girl. She was a year ahead of me and she had the books. So I figured I could use her books and, just return them for her a year, like a semester later and get free books. Oh,
Is she still in the profile or what?
oh yeah, she's my wife. We've been married for almost 20 years. And
What? All right. So did it turn into mission success? Did you end up back as a Fleet Marine, as a Marine Corps officer?
I did, but not as an infantry officer, but yes, I did.
So what category of officer were you now?
So with this girl, right? One thing I didn't mention is that I was previously married during that time in Hawaii, had a kid, that relationship dissolved. So now I'm a single father in college. So I got a kid, a baby, an infant, and I have custody of the kid. Now I meet this girl, and I've got a family to consider. Life's a little bit different. Do I want to go back to the infantry? Yes. However, the constraints of the family and everything, I decided that I might want to just look for a different path. So I chose to take the test for flight test to see if I could be qualified to be a pilot, and I did that. So I passed it and went to flight school and was assigned to be a helicopter pilot.
What helicopters did you fly?
The CH-53 Echo, which is a 100 feet long true transport.
Is that the Jolly Green Giant?
I don't know. I don't know if anyone calls it that. I've never heard it called it that, but I'm sure that maybe someone has in the past. But it's a Super Stallion, Sikorsky Super Stallion. It's 100 feet long. It's 36,000 pounds before you even put gas in it.
How long did you fly that?
I flew that from, let's see, I graduated flight school in 2012, and I flew that until 2017. So 5 years.
And then did you end up deploying to Afghanistan or Iraq at any time through your time in the Marine Corps?
Yeah, I went to Afghanistan with a squadron there, which is crazy. It honestly is really crazy to me that I joined the Marine Corps in 1999. I did 3 deployments in the infantry. When 9/11 happened, I had a pager that was supposed to be able to like be on a bus and ready to deploy within 6 hours. My pager went off on 9/11, like loading magazines, ready to go. Obviously, nothing happened, and I never went to Afghanistan on ground post in the infantry. It's just the luck of the draw. And then I went to Afghanistan with my helicopter squadron, and we were the last helicopter squadron deployed to Afghanistan. It's just you never know how things are going to work out, and there's you don't get oftentimes you don't get a say in your deployment cycle and where you get to go. So
What time frame were you in Afghanistan?
I was there in 2014.
And then when did you retire from the Marine Corps?
I retired in officially in 2024.
After how many years?
24 years.
Wow. So 24 years as a Marine, you get a combat deployment, you get to learn how to fly helicopters, which sounds like a lot of fun. Were you able to, or could you possibly transition that today into civilian life and continue flying helicopters if that's what you so desired?
A lot of my friends did. I chose not to. After I was done flying a 53, I went to flight school to be a flight school instructor. And as a flight school instructor, you're flying around at 1,000 feet with a student trying to kill you every day. And, that is, that's enough for me. After 3 years of students trying to kill me on a daily basis, I was happy to be standing on the ground. Flying is fun. There's some nostalgia there. People ask me all the time if I would ever go back to do it again. I think that I would like to, but it's not something that I would want to do, professionally. And I also, as a pilot, you're on somebody else's time. You have to fly on their timeline. You have to be responsive to their schedule, and you're almost doing little deployments. And I'm happier to be with my family.
Well, now that you're no longer in uniform, what are you doing?
So, yeah, that's great. That's a great question. I retired from the Marines. I worked for a defense contractor for 2 years, helping run that business. And along the way with running that business, we had some challenges. A friend of mine gave me a book called Traction, written by Gino Wickman. It's about just how you can use this operating system for entrepreneurs. And I really fell in love with this book. I just the simplicity of this book, utilizing some simple, practical tools. And I spoke with a friend of mine that introduced me to this book and realized that you could do this for a living. My wife gives some great advice over a glass of wine. And one day I was pretty frustrated, and she said, "Why don't you stop complaining and just do it?" And, so I decided to quit my job and to take the plunge. And so I quit my job and
What is it exactly that you do? Are you an entrepreneur, or are you advising people who are entrepreneurs how to do all of that?
both. So I quit my job and started my own business of coaching entrepreneurs.
Ah, where can people find out more about this?
It's eosworldwide.com.
And what are they going to find when they get there?
So EOS Worldwide is that's EOS is the entrepreneurial operating system. And this is like I said, a simple system of proven tools, and it focuses on three main things that we call vision, traction, and healthy. Vision is just making sure that organizations, throughout the whole organization, we understand where we're trying to take this company. Like, what's the goal of this company? What's the vision? Where we're trying to go, and making sure that's understood not just at the leadership level, but throughout the entire organization. And then traction is, are we executing on that vision day in and day out with discipline and accountability? So no matter where you go throughout the company, you see people who are executing on their goals with day in, but with discipline, accountability, and that's nested within that vision. And then healthy is just, you know, building a cohesive team that actually likes working together, that are built on the core values of that organization. Oftentimes we just don't like coming to work. We're punching a check or punching a card, right? We're not really there because we enjoy being there. So building a cohesive team that actually enjoys working together. And we have six main components that we focus on, that are all, nested within these three things: vision, traction, and healthy.
Well, we've been talking with retired United States Marine Corps Major Ryan Pusins, and if you want to learn more about what he's currently up to, you go to eosworldwide.com. You get to hang out with a cool guy like this who was all part of some team building stuff as a Marine, and after 25, 24 years, he has swapped it over and is making some serious money with it. We say that here on Veterans Corner Radio. Our veterans are worth their value in gold. And Ryan, I think you absolutely exceed the basic standard. So thank you for your time today. And thank you very much for all the things that you've done serving our country and what you're doing today. And it sounds like anybody that's a veteran can reach out to you through the website and become an entrepreneur in their own right. Is that right?
That's a great start point. It's if you want to find me in particular, eosworldwide.com/Ryan-Pusins. That's Pusins.
Outstanding. Well, thank you very much for your time today.
No, thank you, Joe.
You've been listening to Veterans Corner Radio with your host, retired United States Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Joe Mulberger. The views expressed on this program are those of Joe and his guests and our opinions based on the best available information. In matters of law or governmental regulation, it will always be best to check with the appropriate agency. Thanks for listening, and we hope you'll join us for the next program on Veterans Corner Radio.
Here's a quick final thought. If you're enjoying these podcasts, why not take a minute to subscribe or mark Veterans Corner Radio as a favorite? It's easy, and you'll be set to be among the first to find out when new podcasts are published. And thanks again for listening to Veterans Corner Radio.